Alright folks, this is Xearrik, and I want to talk about Xenoblade 3. Specifically, I think that there may be multiple endings to this Xenoblade. And at the very least, I believe that there's going to be a lot more branching paths, the either or. In Xenoblade 1, there was a lot of either or quests, where you do this quest for someone or you do that quest. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but a handful, where you invite this person to this colony or you can invite that person, but you can't have both. And I believe they're going to expand upon that in this game, which could lead to multiple endings. Now, I have a lot of evidence to support this, so let's go ahead and go over it. But before I get started, feel free to completely disagree with me in the comments section and let me know if you think I'm off base about something, or what you or your own personal theories or any of that stuff. Like, people disagreed with me about my other videos. That's perfectly fine. That's what we're here about. We're trying to theorize what the game is and what's going on. And I'm really excited about the replayability of this game. It seems like there's going to be a lot of replayability based on a lot of the evidence shown in the recent trailer. So let's go ahead and start to go over that. The first is that they show that the game has three primary factions: Kevis, Agnes, and a third faction that you're introduced pretty early on, it seems like, called Sword March. So let's talk about Kevis and Agnes. These are not hostile factions to you, it seems, because I'll pull up some screenshots. In the trailer, it shows you going into each camp. It says that you can go into each camp, and it says that each camp, well, not each camp, but each faction, and at the heart of each faction's colony is a Pharaonis. And the Pharaonises, as you can see, I'll bring up the screenshots here, it shows that you are inside both towns that have the Pharaonis. Now, the Pharaonis moves. That's why it doesn't really look like a full-on town, because it does say it's a mobile base. That also plays into one of my theories, is that if you could support one faction and then that base conquers more land or something of that sort. Now, I feel like I should really go over the single ending theory first. So I feel like the most likely thing that will happen if there's a single ending is that you bring both factions together, you find out some information about them through dealing with Sword March, stop all this fighting and all this other stuff, and you bring everyone together. That is either the good ending or the only ending, most likely. But it does appear as if, at least in the mid-game, even if there isn't multiple endings, that you can support both Agnes and Kevis. And look at these emblems when you go into this town. So throughout the gameplay trailer, it really makes a big deal about showing you in these towns. And if you notice here, one of the biggest UI elements when you are inside one of their base is how much energy is left in their Pharaonis. When you're exploring the world, you will see both factions fighting each other. Perhaps you can join one side or the other, or defeat both. And also, it shows that the affinity chart is returning. The affinity chart was a really unique thing in Xenoblade 1. So many, you get to know every named NPC in the game, and you know so many details about their personality and what they're doing, because you eventually build up this massive affinity chart by the end of the game, where you've learned so much about all these different NPCs, and you can click on them if you forget, and it tells you their name again and gives you a little bit of information. And with that affinity chart, there were so many different outcomes that could happen. This person could become a chef, or this person can become an artist, this person can become a warrior, or whatever, right? Or this person breaks up with that person and starts dating this person, or this person does. Like, you'll have a massive impact on the way people interact with each other based on how you interact with them and what quests you do and how you talk to them. And this is what I think might be expanded, because there's two enemy factions that will be fighting each other throughout the story, and that you can go into both factions, that your team is made up of half Kevis and half Agnes people, that you'll be able to go in these factions and you're going to meet all these people. And I believe there might be a lot of mutually exclusive quests and affinity relations, and perhaps even endings. That's the big thing. I believe that because there are two primary factions fighting against each other, and a third faction that we don't know a whole bunch about yet, playing off of that, there's going to be so much. I guarantee at the very least you're going to be able to convince certain people to leave one faction and join the other faction. There's the fact that it shows that energy meter on the Feronis means that you're most likely going to have an impact on that meter. Why would the UI for that be so prominent if you weren't going to have an impact on it? And if you say have an impact on it and you support one faction more than the other, wouldn't that mean that faction would win? That's what I mean. There's a lot of little evidence like that in the trailer because of these things that really leans heavily towards there possibly being multiple endings. And at the very least, this game will have more mutually exclusive quests than any of the previous Xenoblade games to date. And that means more replayability than any of the previous Xenoblade games to date. And that is really cool. Because I'm the type of person who's not that big a fan of New Game Plus personally, unless there's a lot to offer. And sometimes even when there is a lot to offer, I don't tend to play New Game Plus unless I really, really love the game. I am currently on my streaming channel playing through New Game Plus for both Xenoblade 1 and 2. And I'm hoping to play X, but I don't think I'm going to get through X before the release of Xenoblade 3. It's getting so close, and I'm so slow with these games. I'm 400 hours into my Xenoblade 1 playthrough, and I've only beaten it once, and I'm about maybe half to 3/4 of the way beating it again. So Xenoblade 1 is very fresh in my mind because I'm playing it right now, and I'm constantly coming up with these mutually exclusive relationships, mutually exclusive quests, mutually exclusive colonists. There's lots of things where you either do this or that, and then you're locked out of that thing. And I believe that it is incredibly likely that they are going to expand upon that based on... if you were designing the game and you decided you want to have two big factions like that and that you can control the energy of both factions, don't you think that you would want to make it so the player, if you were the developer, would have some impact on that type of thing, and it would change the world based on who you were working with more? So even though it does seem probable that there could still only just be one ending, and that it's going to be like some third, like what I would believe would be the third major ending, where you bring both factions together by kind of dissolving both major warring factions and supporting Sword March. But either way, like I said, if there's multiple endings or there isn't multiple endings, I'm pretty much guaranteeing that there will be more mutually exclusive quests and NPC dialogue lines and things like that than in the previous Xenoblade games. And I am really looking forward to that. So let me know what your opinion is. Let me know if you think I'm completely off of base, or maybe I'm on to something, or what your theory is. Like, I don't care if you disagree with me here. I posted another video about the dodging, and there was plenty of people who disagreed with me, some people who thought I was on to something. But that's what this is about, right? We're trying to have fun. We're trying to theorize what's going on. And, well, I guess that's it for me today. So thanks for watching, everyone. This is Xearrik, and I'm out.